So yes, welcome to Living Beyond Limits. I am Reverend Jennifer Spear. You all know that. We are part of Centers for Spiritual Living, and I'm so glad that you've joined us here in the park. And for those of you who are online, I'm so glad that you've joined us for our online service as well. And so we're going to begin our service today by reading our vision statement. And so if you know it, you don't have it with you, but I'm going to read it for you. And if you know it, I invite you to join along in saying it with me. And if you don't, I invite you just to take it in. It goes like this. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's exactly what we are doing here, is we are giving ourselves the opportunity by participating in the service through the words that are spoken and the songs that are sung and the readings that are done, to remember all those things. Help remind us that yes, indeed, that infinite presence lives within us, that it is innate to our own beingness because it is really our own divine essence. And that means then that all of those qualities and characteristics of that divine presence already reside within us. Intelligence and love and peace and wholeness and light. Because what happens is, as we recognize that those qualities are within us all of the time, that then we have access to them regardless of what's happening in our lives and regardless of what's happening in the world. And then we can bring peace into a situation that is not peaceful. We can bring love into a situation that is not loving. And as we do that, we act as a beneficial presence in this world, as a healing balm in this world. And so I say thank you to every single one of you for heeding the call of your own spirit to be walking this path and to be giving way to that presence within you. And so I'm going to invite our practitioner, Barbara Conant, up now. She's going to lead us in an evocation and do a contemplative reading for us. And I invite you prior to that to begin to kind of settle into yourself. And we're going to play the song We Are, and you can sing it or just take that in also and allow that to help you slow down and just move into that center of your own beingness. I take this moment to turn my mind within. I let go of the outside world and feel the unconditional love of my inner presence. And in this sacred space, I realize there is only one life, the eternal life of spirit. It is here right now with me, expressing its life through all creation and living beyond limits. And I also know that God's life clothes everything with its essence of love. Infinite love is my consciousness. It is the heart of my being, and I am blessed with the eternal good of life, which is true for everyone.
I know the life of Spirit is reflected in today's service and in all people everywhere, and divine life fills their minds and hearts with love. And recognizing we are one, I bless our time together and everyone that is listening to Reverend Jennifer's message. I bless Reverend Jennifer and her inspired talk, knowing we find something inspiring to guide us throughout the week. I bless our practitioners, everyone here, all spiritual paths, and I know today is filled with Spirit's love and light. And so it is. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My reading today is from a book by Ernest Holmes and Willis Kinner called A New Design for Living. And it comes from a section called Divine Patterns. And it begins, there is a divine pattern for man, and each of us is an individualization of it. We become consciously one with the pattern or the spiritual cause back of things by lifting our thought above the confusion of everything that has seemed to separate us from our good. There is a universal pattern back of things, a pattern which is in itself and of itself perfect. It is no idle statement to affirm the perfection of God at the center of all things, manifesting in and through each and everything in its unique way. We should spend more time contemplating upon harmony, beauty, peace, and the joy that exists at the center of our being, even during difficult times. And so today, I seek the divine pattern at the center of my own being, affirming its reality. I permit its essence to flow through me, claiming it is my very own. I embrace it. Believing in Spirit's beauty, I sense its harmony. Believing in Spirit's power, with faith, I accept the authority of its action in my everyday affairs. And looking at the God in man, I see in everyone the pattern of its perfection, the image of its likeness, and joy of its being. And so it is.
And so the title of my talk today is Pushed by Pain. And what I'm talking about is that whenever we have pain in our lives, whether it's actually physical pain in our bodies, or whether it is pain or unease in one of our relationships, or whether it's actually pain or just being uncomfortable with events or things that are going on in the world, inherent in that pain is a message for us. And not just a message, but also inherent in that situation is an invitation. There is a message that is telling us that something isn't working. Telling us that something isn't working either mentally or emotionally or physically or even situationally. It is also telling us that there is something greater that wants to come forward. And sometimes, actually, I'm going to share a story with you. It says, a lady was once heating up a pot of water on a gas stove with the intent of cooking pasta for dinner for her family. A frog fell into the pot while it was sitting on the stove. While it wasn't his intention to be stuck in a pot of water, he didn't try to escape. He was comfortable enough as he was. The lady soon turned on the flame to begin boiling the water. As the water's temperature began to rise, the frog was able to adjust his body's temperature accordingly. So he remained in the pot without trying to do anything to change the situation. However, as the water approached its boiling point, the frog's body temperature could no longer keep up. He finally tried to jump out of the pot, but the water temperature continuing to increase, he didn't have time to make the leap. It was too late for the frog to save himself. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation that feels like that it becomes hot really fast. Or sometimes we find ourselves in a situation that feels uncomfortable like that water, but because it's built up gradually or because it's familiar to us, it kind of keeps us stuck in that thing that feels like a problem or that feels painful. But when that pain happens quickly, oftentimes when we're experiencing that pain, it makes us feel overwhelmed. Pain in our body feels overwhelming, and it feels like it's all that we can focus on because it hurts so much. Or pain in a relationship takes all of our mental attention so much that we have a hard time sleeping, or when we go to work, we have a hard time focusing on what it is that we're supposed to be doing at work because that difficulty in that relationship is absorbing all of our energy and all of our focus. Or when there's a problem in the world, it can feel overwhelming, and we tend to kind of do one of two things. One is we either quit paying attention because it's too painful, or we spend all of our time looking backwards and focusing on what happened and replaying it over and over and over in our minds. And if that isn't enough, we just turn on whatever media that you're looking at, and they'll play it over and over and over for you also.
Awesome.
All of us, what we really want is we want to be living a life where it feels like our life works, where it feels like we're not stuck in something that feels painful or something that feels uncomfortable. We want to live a life where we get to be who we are and where we get to fully express who we are. We want to live a life where we feel valued and appreciated, whether that's at work or at home or in relationships. We want to be able to be successful, and we want to be able to contribute. We want to live a life that works for us within a world that works for everyone. And we want to be a beneficial presence both to ourselves and to this family of humanity. So the problem is we don't do that when we get caught up in that pain. When we get stuck in that pain, it takes our attention and it takes our energy away from being able to do those other things. And what happens sometimes when we get caught up in that pain is it immobilizes us. We feel overwhelmed by the pain or the fear or the frustration or even grief. And when we get caught up in those emotions, what happens is we don't realize that contained in that situation or in that pain is a message. And that contained within that pain is an invitation. It's right within that situation and that pain. Michael Beckwith, Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, actually said, we are either pushed by pain or pulled by a vision. And he actually said we are pushed by pain until we are pulled by a vision. And so has anyone here ever experienced that? Have you ever experienced being pushed by pain till the pain becomes so great that it actually forces you to make a change? That it forces you to choose something different? Perhaps it was being in a relationship that wasn't good for you. Or maybe it was about working at a job that didn't fit, or that wasn't using your talents, or that wasn't recognizing your value or compensating you adequately for that. Those things, whatever that thing was, that's being pushed by pain. That is your own divine nature telling you something is amiss here. Something doesn't fit. Something isn't right. Something needs to change. And sometimes what happens, though, as you know, is our fear of the unknown and our fear of change keeps us stuck in that pain, keeps us stuck in that thing that feels so uncomfortable, keeps us from letting go of the lesser so that we might experience that which is greater, and often that thing which is greater is within us until it doesn't. Until we move. I know that in my own life I've had situations like that, and probably the biggest one has been the ending of a relationship. And not just the pain of the relationship ending, but the pain afterwards also. The pain of actually fear that I wouldn't be okay on my own. The fear that I couldn't stand on my own 2 feet. And that pain actually caused me to make the choice to remain single for years so that I could prove to myself that I could stand on my own 2 feet. So that I could prove to myself that I could make good choices, that I could take good care of myself, that I could be independent, that I didn't have to rely on another person in order to be okay. And out of that being pushed by pain, I came to a greater understanding of myself and who I am, which has enabled me to make different and better choices in my life. And so the funny thing is about that, when we are pushed by pain, is we initially are pushed by pain until we start to awaken to that thing within us which is seeking to be made real, that thing which is seeking to be known, that greater self within us. And then once that starts growing, we start growing and we start changing. And then what happens is that actually turns into a vision. Then that vision of who we really are and what we can be continues to pull us forward. So that pain gets transformed into that vision. Like Michael Beckwith said, we are pushed by pain until we are pulled by a vision. We get pulled by that vision of who we are or what the potential of our life could be. But here's something to know also, that when you're having a hard time, when something in your life feels painful or feels uncomfortable, you haven't done anything wrong. And you're not being punished. It is simply trying to get your attention. It is simply asking you, telling you that something needs adjusting, that something needs to change. It's telling you that there is something greater that is seeking to be born through you. Lao Tzu said, new beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. Miliana Trask, who was a political leader in the Hawaiian sovereignty movement and an attorney, said, a difficult birth does not make a baby any less beautiful. It's something trying to be born through you, and the discomfort is just trying to push you in that direction. And when we feel uncomfortable about something that's going on in the world, it's the exact same thing. It's trying to get our attention that something in the world needs adjusting. Something in the world needs to change. Something greater is trying to come forward and be born into this world and be made real. Because the truth is that the very nature of life is to unfold as the greater. The very nature of life is to evolve and to unfold in greater ways. And each and every single one of us, we are a part of that life. We are an aspect of that life. We forget sometimes that we live in a law of growth. and that growth is the nature of life. And so I got a letter from Centers for Spiritual Living last week that I'm going to share with you. And it says, all around the world, on any given day, the pain is real, palpable, and it points to the truth that we are living in a time of great transformation. We are both the agents of healing transformation and the ones impacted by that transformation. As such, we have an opportunity to lean into the transformational power of our emotions so that we can make our way through to our inherent wholeness. This is especially important when we hear about atrocities that have been committed across generations of nations. From the Nazis and the Holocaust, to the brutality of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, to South Africa's apartheid, to the Tulsa Greenwood Massacre, and very recently to the discovery of 215 bodies of Indigenous children in Canada, which exposes the systemic racism and cultural genocide. A discovery of this magnitude feels not only unbelievable, but unbearable. It isn't until we know the depth of our feeling that we can put into practice what our teaching declares. That there is nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. That is one of the teachings in religious science. There is nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. Something is seeking to be revealed and made real. What is the truth that wants to be revealed? What is the consciousness that is being called to shift? How do we lay a foundation for a world that indeed does work for all and not for a select few? What is it that we are each being called to contribute? Let each of us ask ourselves and each other these questions and use our dialogues to access the truth and the healing power of our teachings. The corollary to pushed by pain is pulled by vision. Our faith is in the divine, as well as our vision of a healthy, loving world. It's what strengthens our conviction that beyond the pain lies transformation. As spiritual beings, we are called to develop the capacity to hold pain and notice the impulse to move too quickly out of it. Truth reveals, heals, and prepares the way to recognize and to commit to the deep work that lies before us. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." And so I ask you those questions. I invite you to get out that little piece of paper that you were handed. It has those questions on it. If you didn't get a paper or you need a pen, will you raise your hand? Celeste needs one. Where's Shelley? Shelley, do you still have that stuff? Celeste needs a pen and a paper. And so I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and to turn within to your heart, the place where that all-knowing wisdom resides within you, the place where you can feel your spirit. For the truth is, all answers are spiritual answers, and we are led by that spiritual wisdom within us. And so I invite you to ask that all-knowing wisdom within you, what is the truth here that wants to be revealed in this country, in this world at this time? What is the truth that wants to be revealed? And to go ahead and write that answer down. And after you answer that question, to close your eyes and to ask yourself again, that wisdom within you, what is the consciousness that we are being called to shift? What is the consciousness we are being called to shift? And last, one more time to turn within and to ask yourself, what is it that I am being called to contribute to this? How am I being called to contribute? What am I being called to do? And so now what I'm going to do is ask you to get into groups of 3. And if there's extra people, you can be in a group of 4. But to get into groups of 3 and to share your answers with each other. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. All right. So I invite you to bring your attention back here. I know. Especially if you're in a small group. So my invitation to you is to hold to that vision. That's the vision that will pull you forward. To hold to that vision and to do whatever it is that is yours to do. And to know that if and when anything feels painful in your life, when anything feels uncomfortable or distressing, that it holds a message and an invitation for you. Listen for that message. And you know, it might take journaling, and it might take meditation, and it might take a while to hear what the message is. And I know sometimes we really don't get the message until we start moving out of whatever's painful till it becomes really clear. But I know for myself, journaling and asking questions helps me come up with the answer. So you might ask yourself questions like, what is it that doesn't fit here in this situation? What is it that needs to change? Where am I being less than who and what I really am? Or what greater thing wants to come forward in this world? And as a result of answering that question, and as a result of being pulled by your vision, we will be creating a world that works for you within a world that works for everyone. And so again, I thank every single one of you for answering the call of your own soul to be walking this path, to be being a beneficial presence in this world, to be bringing good into this world, for your commitment, for your desire, for your thoughts and your actions. I thank you for all of that. And so blessings to you this week. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. Oh, and so I recognize that these things that we just heard within our own hearts, this call within our own hearts, is none other than that one infinite and divine presence speaking to us directly and clearly. For there is a high vision that is seeking to unfold itself in and through and as humanity. A high vision that is seeking to express itself in and through and as this entire world and this entire universe. And it is the love and the creativity and the intelligence of God that is unfolding this vision in and through each of us. For that presence is the one and only presence and one and only power, one and only beingness, one and only life. And it is this that is unfolding itself all around us, that is unfolding itself through us, that calls us and beckons us by a high vision, and that pushes us forward through discomfort, through pain, to awaken and become that vision and become who and what we've come here to be, to give way to our own greater yet to be. And so recognize and know that every single one of our lives are blessed, that every single one of our paths are blessed, and that the path before us is illuminated, that it is made straight and plain so that we might walk this path, bringing the gift of ourself to this world. And so I bless every single one of these visions that came forward. I bless the good works that every person here is doing, and I bless the good works that every person in this world is doing, knowing that that divine presence is unfolding itself everywhere right now. I know that wherever there is an opening in consciousness, there is an opening in this entire world. And so I see and know and claim and lean into the good that is unfolding. How blessed we are to participate in that. And so I release this word into the law of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself right now because it is the truth. And so I release this prayer and I say, and so it is. And so Barbara's going to come up and lead us in an affirmation that is on your other white sheet.
And so if you'll join me, today I remember that everything that feels painful contains a message or an invitation. Something greater wants to come into being. I listen to that within, which calls me into the greater. I heed the call, and I am supported by the universe. And so it is.
Nice. Thank you. And so it is now time for our offering. So if you have an offering, I invite you to bring that forward and place it in the basket. If you are supporting us online, I thank you for your continued support of Living Beyond Limits.
Thank you so much. Got it before Tuesday.
And so I invite you to join me in a blessing of this offering. And so it is with a grateful and a full heart that I bless this offering. It is from this energy of gratitude and abundance and the blessedness of just living this life. It is from this place of gratitude that I bless this offering, knowing that it is transmuted into ministry, which in turn blesses each and every single one of us, not just today, but every day. And that blesses not just those who are here today, but everyone that comes here in the future. And so I bless this offering. I bless this community. I bless Living Beyond Limits and its philosophy. And I invite you to join me in sending a blessing out into this world, to every home and every heart and every person, every country, every political leader. And I say, thank you, God. And so it is. And so I have a couple of invitations for you, which I think I have here, which are on your sheet also. Maybe I don't have them. Can I borrow someone's? Oh, no, I have it right here. One is we are starting part 3 of the workshop that we've been doing. It is called Keys to the Spiritual Path. It's a 3-week workshop. It's beginning June 24th. I'm going to do it at 12:30 and at 7 p.m. If you have not yet signed up and would like to join us for that, Barbara Conant has the sign-up sheet. It is about mysticism and different spiritual paths and how they overlap with our teachings, and has the opportunity for us to go deeper into that experience, direct experience of the divine. So would love to have you join us for that. What's this next one? It's a surprise. I wonder what that means. It's a surprise. Living Beyond Limits is going back to Lakewood Country Club the 2nd or 3rd week in July. I am so excited. We're trying to work out sound techs and get stuff in order, so I'll let you know the date for sure. And being that said, the next one is, we'll be here again in 2 weeks. Let's have a picnic in the park, which will celebrate possibly the last time that we're meeting in the park, because it's going to be there 2 or 3 weeks later when we meet at Lakewood Country Club. So in 2 weeks when you come, bring a picnic lunch, bring your games, your bocce ball and cornhole and whatever games you have, and we will hang out and play with each other in the park and enjoy the kickoff for summer and celebrate the opportunity that we have had for this past part of the year to be meeting in the park. So in the meantime, I hope to see we're doing Connection and Spiritual Practice on Thursday nights until we start this class, until the 24th. Love to have you join us for that. We're doing Ministry of Prayer. You can give a prayer request to Barbara Conant. We have prayer shawls if you'd like one of those. And otherwise, just know that you are loved and that we are so happy that you are a part of this family. And so it is.